Hi, I'm Chelci Crandall, and I've been a hairstylist for the last 6 years. For the first 2 years, I was looking for a men's product line that would work for all of my male clientele, and I found American Crew. My clients love it because it's so easy for them to use, and they love all the different styling products, and I love it because of the education that Crew provides for me. I've taken quite a few classes and learned a bunch of the different collections from Crew and bring them home to the salon and try them out on my clients. I have about 80% male clientele right now, and my clients love when I bring home new stuff for them to try out. I want to be an American Crew educator because I want to provide that opportunity to other stylists. So I'm about to do a haircut on Eric, and I'm going to be doing the structured weight haircut from the Method 1 American Crew Academy. And I would love to be a part of the American Crew team. And thank you so much for your consideration. I'm going to do a structured weight haircut on Eric today. And I decided that I want to be an educator for American Crew because I love the product line and the education is phenomenal. First, I'm going to start by taking a low horseshoe parting on Eric here from the bottom of the recession. And I'm dipping it down a little bit lower in the back here because of a calic that he has. So I'm just going down lower back here so that I can build up some of this weight along here. And again, he has a little bit of a calic here, so I took a lower horseshoe in the back on the crown. So I'm going to start in the design panel here, and I'm going to take vertical sections and pull them out and cut straight from my section and cut a guide to where I would like the hair length to be. And I'll work this all the way around zones 1 and 2, and I'm just pulling it straight out from my section and making a vertical cut. And his hair density here is pretty much the same. I'm just trying to create a little bit of weight right around here and then keeping the length on top. And I'm just taking a little bit from the previous section and using that as my guide to cut the length off of the next section. And again, just pulling straight out from that guide, combing it down. I'm going to do this all the way around the head shape, and when I get to behind the ear, I'm actually going to keep pulling out straight from the head shape so the bottom will be longer than the top. I'm going to take horizontal sections here just to make sure that my length is staying the same. This section is a little bit longer, so I'm going to go back in. And I'm just pulling the sections out, taking a little bit from the previous section so I can use that as my guide. As I comb it out, I want to be straight out from my part. No elevations or over directions at all. And make sure you're doing clean sections so that you can always know what's going on in the hair. Again, horizontal sections, and you can see in here that this section is a little bit longer, so I probably over-directed just a little bit. So you want to catch that at the very beginning so that you are continually have the same length all the way around. You can see it right there where there's a little bit of a layover. I'm going to take that off. Pulling straight out, and then I'm moving the comb over so I can see that guide, and then cut right to that guide. Eric has really curly hair, so I use the daily moisturizing shampoo and conditioner when I shampooed him before the style, before we started cutting. Need a little bit of moisturizer in there from the conditioner to work through the hair. You want to keep the hair wet, but not too wet to where you can't see your guide, because sometimes if the hair is too wet, you can't see your guide, it won't separate the hair. So still I'm just working around the head, taking vertical sections, and we established what length that we wanted before we started cutting. And even when I get below into zone 1, coming down from the round of the head, I'm still going to pull straight out, and I want to match it to the top piece. So this should all be longer right through here. And as often as you'd like, you can check the silhouette and see how the shape of the hair is laying on the head shape. And you want, no matter what cut you pick, to have a very linear shape and make the head shape look very lean. All right, so because Eric has curly hair here, I'm using very low tension as I'm pulling out the sections because I don't want to cut it too short. I'm just working all the way down the head. And again, doing cross checks to make sure that all of the sections are even all the way around the head. And you can also do a vertical check to make sure that these lengths match up from top to bottom here. Looks like I'm doing pretty good. And always make sure you're standing directly behind your section. It helps keep it even. And always be pulling straight out from your section. No over directing at all. Keep your sections very clean. There's my guide. I'm just going to cut guide to length there. We're doing this all through zones 1 and 2. And all around the hairline and around the ears, I'm going to go back in step 5 and detail and finish, and I'm going to clean that up, make that look really nice. And I can go back and see where I left off just by doing my cross checks. I can see right there is where I left off. Use that as my guide. Cut the guide to length. As you're pulling out, you want to make sure your hand is straight up and down, because if you turn in, that will graduate the haircut down, and if you turn out, that will make the graduation start from the crown and come down. And when I worked right behind the ear, when I took these sections right here from here, I had to kind of create my own guide, and I just went straight up and down from where my section started up here and then cut it right here. Okay, so I'm still continuing around the bottom of the head, working in zones 1 and 2. And stand right behind your section. As you pull out, your fingers should be on either side of that section. You shouldn't even be able to see them. You shouldn't be able to see the lines from that section because your fingers should be covering them, and that'll help you make sure that you're pulling straight out from that section. I didn't have the American Crew all-purpose cutting comb. This is pretty similar, so that is what I'm using on these sections. I'm going to moisten the hair just a little bit. Remember where I left off here. Make sure those fingers are facing directly up, not move side to side at all. Always doing clean sectioning. Pushing away that hair that you don't need. Keeps everything clean. Pulling straight out from that section. Every time you check that guide before you cut. Don't be so quick to cut and not make sure before you cut that you're making the right cut. I'm going to go in here on the detail and finish and clean all this up. Here's my guide. Just make sure you're pulling straight out from that section and check your guide before you cut. And you can see here that I'm cutting palm to palm. It helps to keep all of your lines very straight, and it's good for your form. There's my guide. Don't fall asleep.
No way.
That's what you're not allowed to do.
I'm like listening to that lady talk and it's so boring.
Alrighty. As I move into zone 3 here, into the transition, I'm going to take a middle part all the way back. Then I'm going to make a T-parting right behind the ear to separate the crown. I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay. And when I do that, in the back here, I'm going to separate this into 3 sections. Then I'm going to start on the right side of the head. And you can see the disconnect from where my horseshoe started. And so I'm going to take just that first vertical section right there. Or I mean a horizontal section, sorry. And this is working on zone 3 in the transition. I'm going to be taking horizontal sections, pulling them straight out from the part. There's no elevation here, all up or down. And I took a little piece from the underneath section, and I'm just going to cut straight across. And I'm going to work very loosely on this. My tension is very loose. Pull straight back. And I'm going to take this very corner piece here, and I'm going to cut an angle into this. So I'm just going to be cutting this corner out here so I can leave this length in the front. And I can see that guide there, so I'm just cutting to that guide. There's my guide. Everything is pulling straight out from that section. No elevation at all. I can see the guide right in here through the hair. And at this point, I'm going to try not to get the hair wet at all because I want the hair to start drying, so while I'm detailing and finishing, I can see the way the hair lays and how the product is working in the hair. On this back crown, I'm going to be taking horizontal sections from the triangle shapes that I had created. And I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on the side. Check my guide here and cut straight across. Check my guide, cut straight across. And I'm standing right behind that section and keeping it elevated directly behind the section. Do the same thing for all 3 sections in the crown here. Check that guide and cut straight across. And in the crown, if they have a cowlick, you want to pull very loosely and not have any tension in your fingers so that cowlick can move where it needs to move without cutting it too short. As I'm combing, I'm scooping a little bit under so I can grab just a little bit of that guide from underneath. But everything is very loose because I don't want to disturb that cowlick there. Again, you can see where the disconnect is from the horseshoe parting. Goes from long to short. So I'm going to start there. Taking horizontal sections, pulling them out. You can see that guide under there, and I'm just cutting guide to length. And I'll put that little bit of an angle in there to keep the length in the front. I'm just connecting this very corner piece. Okay, so for the next section, what I'm going to be doing, so I'm going to start right before the back of the ear. I'll take a section, go straight across here, and I'm just going to cut a guide in here, how short I want the hair to be. And I'm gonna take a little bit of the hair from the last section so I can see that guide.
There you go. Perfect. Take a deep breath for me. A gentle smile on the exhale. There you go. Perfect.
There's my guide right there.
Look out through the parking lot. Eyes on me.
Cut straight across.
Eyes on me. You look like you don't look like you look a little nervous. Oh, have I? Or maybe just keep your mind around.
And once I get in front of the ear, I'm gonna over direct those guides back to, this will be my final moving section. And then I'm gonna over direct everything back to this section and cut straight across the top. Everything from the front is coming back to this spot right here. Head right there, cut straight across. Okay. So we just worked all the way through zone 4, just cutting straight across the top. And now I'm gonna work on my detail and finish work. I'm gonna go around and clean this up with clipper over comb. Here, taper this in. All right, so I'm taking just this front piece, very front piece of the hairline, and I'm gonna do force placement. So what that means is I'm just gonna come in with the comb here, lay it directly on the head, and cut straight across. And that just cleans up that very front of the hairline on here. I'm gonna do it right around the ear also. Force placement in there. We're gonna keep a little length right just around the ear. We don't want to clean it up too much. Put that comb directly on the head. Cut straight across. And I'm gonna do that force placement right around the ear. It'll clean all this up. Don't be afraid to bend the ear where you need it to go. All right. I'm gonna be doing a low taper here in zone 1. Just to clean this up, and so it's not so bad on the grow out either. I'm using a triple knot with my 76 here. I'm going to start under here. Use a slight graduation. And I'm going to take that middle section that I did, almost done. And I'm just going to go straight directly over the blade. With my comb, I have a little bit of slight graduation. The comb's teeth are pointed a little bit towards me just so that I can create that graduation without making a weight line. If you feel like it's not as smooth as it could be, you can go back in with your clipper comb and you can do a little bit of fanning just right on the edges. And I'm just going to do this all the way around the hairline. I'm going to go in here with my barber comb. He has some hair growing down this way, and I want to taper that in a little bit more, so I'm using this smaller comb with that. You go with the direction of the hairline, and it's growing down this way, so I'm going to cut against the hairline, or the way the hair is growing. Do that fanning right here. You can always use your mirror to check the shadowing, to see how your graduation is going. Usually just a little bit of fanning will take that line out if there is a line. And right underneath here, I'm just going to make a little taper right under here so the line isn't as pronounced. So I'm taking my triple knot. I'm going to anchor, pivot, and suspend right at the hairline. I'm anchoring, pivot, and suspending. And when you're fanning, you want to keep your blade right on the spine and move it up and down, and your comb should always be moving if you're fanning. I'm going to be doing a little more fanning right behind the ear. As you can see, the hair is completely dry now. So I can add my product and finish it up just how I want to. And I can see how his hair is laying. So that'll help me a lot. So I'm going to go in with alternator. It's almost like a spray wax. It's a flexible styling spray, and it has a medium shine. I'm just giving that a few sprays all over. And just putting that in, it holds pretty well where I want it to hold. But I'm also going to put a little bit of molding clay in there as well, just a little bit on the ends of the hair. This is a medium hold, medium shine, and that's the molding clay. Has some natural beeswax in it, so the smell of it is all natural oils, a little bit of honey and lemon in there. And I'm just working that through the ends of the hair because I don't need to create any volume. So I'm just working it on the very tips of the hair. All over. And when you get it in your hands, really emulsify it before you put it in. Make sure it's all over your hands. Alrighty. So that's the structured weight haircut on Eric from the American Crew Method 1 class. I'm done.